kupata sikiza tune hii ya heshima, bonyeza *811 *817 hash.
Ukiwa mtu wa heshima, utaheshimiwa. Ukiwa mtu wa kupeana, nawe utapewa. Ukiwa wewe ni wa kudharau wengine, utadharauliwa. Ukiwa wa chuki, malipo ni yale yale. Ikiwa wewe ni mtu wa haramu, vile vile itakupata tu. Na kama wewe ni mtu wa kushauri kwa hekima, hautawahi kosa. Kama wewe ni mtu wa watu
ili kupata sikiza tune hiyo ya heshima, kama sikiza tune yako, bonyeza *811 *817 hash, *811 *817 hash.
I can't wait to be back in school.
Watoto, it's important for you to learn how to properly wear your mask, to stretch your arms, social distance, and properly wash your hands this COVID-19 season.
Great idea, Elsa.
Join Captain Tumaini this Saturday on Big Mind at 9 to 10 a.m. to learn more.
This program was made possible through the support of USAID and Ministry of Health.
To our valued customers, listeners and viewers, we thank you for being our valued partner. KBC is grateful for the pleasure of serving you, and we hope to continue meeting your expectations. Happy Customer Service Week from us. We celebrate you.
Sauti ya Kenya.
Juu milimani na hata mabondeni, Radio Taifa inatamba kutamba. Sasa unaweza kupokea matangazo ya Radio Taifa loud and clear popote ulipo Western Kenya.
Radio Taifa usisahau unaweza ukatupata kupitia
ukiwa Busia, Siaya, Vihiga, Mumias, Yala na maeneo yaliyoko karibu. Radio Taifa inapatikana kwenye 104.5 FM, na ukiwa Bungoma, Kakamega, Kiminini, Kipkaren na viunga vyake, pata vipindi na burudani safi kupitia 92.3 FM. Radio Taifa, sauti ya Mkenya.
Good afternoon, this is Lunchtime News. I'm Jacky, Wambiru. Well, we have a comprehensive bulletin lined up this afternoon, and to kick us off, we cross over to Serena Hotel here in Nairobi, where Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i earlier on was accompanied by Energy Principal Secretary Major General Dr. Gordon Kihalangwa, and he held a meeting with the board of Kenya Power and Lighting Company, and he did discuss matters on the implementation of the recommendations by the task force on reducing the cost of electricity. Well, our reporter Betty Kiptum is on standby and has more details. Kiptum?
A very good afternoon to you, Jacky, there in studio. We are coming to you live from the Serena Hotel. Now, just 30 minutes ago, the Interior CS, Fred Matiang'i, was speaking to journalists after having meetings with the energy team, that is from the Kenya Power and Lighting Company, as well as the Energy Ministry, to discuss reforms that are going to be, the recommendations of a task force that are going to be implemented to ensure that the cost of electricity comes down. Just a prelude to that, the task force was formed in March this year by the president to just look into why the cost of electricity is rising, and just to ensure that these challenges are met and the cost of electricity comes down. One of the issues that came out of that task force report was that the power purchase agreements for independent power producers, the tariffs were pretty high compared to those of KenGen, and that has led the task force, or that led the task force to recommend that any ongoing power purchase agreements that have not been concluded are going to be suspended. Dr. Matiang'i also reiterated that. He said that the suspension of these PPAs, the power purchase agreements, is effective today. He said that today is the start of 90 days that will see the recommendations, including a forensic audit of the Kenya Power and Lighting Company, as well as billing, being just reviewed, the billing systems being reviewed to ensure that Kenyans are not paying more than they need to access electricity. So he says that within the next 90 days, Kenyans who maybe have been paying about 500 shillings currently for electricity will pay less, 170 shillings. That is, they will pay 330 shillings. That is quite the slash. Remember, the cost of electricity, according to the report recommended by the task force and taken up by the president himself, and now being implemented by Dr. Matiang'i, as well as the Energy Ministry and the Kenya Power and Lighting Company, is set to see the cost of electricity come down by about 33%. Well, those are just some of the recommendations that will be implemented over the next 90 days, and it's only for Kenyans to watch and see these implementations take place and ensure that by 31st of December they'll be paying less to light up their houses and just power their appliances in their houses, as well as to see the cost of goods come down. Jacky, we shall be bringing our viewers updated on these in other subsequent bulletins, but for now, that is all. Back to you in studio.
Well, that was our reporter, Betty Kiptum, giving us an update on the steps being undertaken to reduce the cost of electricity in the country. For now, we move on. Kisii County Governor James Ongwae has challenged the local leadership to go out and mobilize residents to register as voters. Ongwae says the prevailing low turnout countrywide is worrying.
This is what will be happening.
The mass voter registration exercise is yet to gather momentum in Kisii County. So far, just over 2,000 people have enlisted themselves as voters.
We have a shortfall right now of 203,000 voters that have not registered.
Governor Ongwae is calling on leaders to rally their constituents behind the exercise.
Talk to your brothers and sisters who could be in colleges, wherever they are. Tell them to register in large numbers.
County Commissioner Alan Mashiri urged those who are yet to pick their identity cards to hasten the process and register as voters.
The IEBC has a target within which we have to achieve. And from the way we have performed in the last 2 days, our performance has been below expectation.
Meanwhile, a total of 31,561 identity cards are lying uncollected at the registrar's office persons in Kiambu County, despite having successfully processed by the government. Kiambu County officer in charge of registration of persons, John Mbugwa, says this year alone, over 10,000 identity cards have been processed.
We want to get the uncollected ID cards so that we can work with the chiefs to ensure that they reach their owners and that the owners can be able to register as voters.
Yusuf Far reporting for Lunchtime News.
Still on the same, the Kenya National Private Security Workers Union is calling on its members to register as voters and make their voices heard in the run-up to next year's polls. Now, the union's officials said the private security sector has been sidelined for long, and it is only through the ballot that a change can be realized. They appealed to IEBC to station the registration centers in areas accessible by the private security workers who are engaged throughout the day. Wycliffe Okech has more details.
In a meeting that brought together the Kenya National Private Security Workers Union and the Governing Council of Employers of Private Security Workers held in Kisumu, the private security workers were challenged to get enlisted to increase their bargaining power as the country gears towards next year's polls. The union officials said the challenges facing the over 1.5 million private security providers can only be solved if the workers exercise their mandate at the ballot.
Bawabu wamekuwa voting club. Watu wakitaka kura kule Nairobi hapa kwingine wanakuja wanatoa siasa yao, mambo ya promises hizo, alafu bawabu huyo anapaki pale pale na challenges zake. Tumesema round hii tutamobilize bawabu na tumesema waende wachukue kura, kwa sababu despite being a card or a cadet, you are also a Kenyan.
The officials also appealed to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to consider stationing the registration centers at strategic places for easy access by the private security workers that they said work throughout the day.
Yes. Now, what we are saying in terms of logistics and arrangement, we are appealing to IBC to take the voting registration exercise to the factories.
Yes.
Kama ukipeleka assignment, upeleka KK, where it has around 12,000 cards. G4S around 14,000. Why can't we create a registration center at those strategic ways?
We are talking to IBC also so that they cluster for us a staggered registration process, because you see our workers come to work at 6 a.m. and they work 2 shifts. So two requests we will be making, and that's part of the engagement we are having today.
For Lunchtime News, I'm Wycliffe Okech.
In other news, the government has begun distribution of the 2 billion shilling relief already available as efforts to mobilize more relief continues. Now, Defense CS Eugene Omalo, who officially launched the exercise in Kisii County, says priority goes to hard-hit counties spread across the coast, northeastern and Rift Valley regions.
Learning new activities in after schools. Use it as your advantage. I'm sure, or I hope, some of you will work for me, for Ketana. I will try to get some of you, especially. But we cannot take all. So what I'm sure is that there are a lot of competitors from Ketana, a lot of other small or bigger.
Yatatoka hapa Galana kulisha Pwani, na mahindi mengine yatoke Cereals Board kulisha kule Turukana, Wajia, Mandera na kwingineko.
The Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Devolution and Asals said more dams will be constructed as part of looking for lasting solutions.
Lakini suluhisho la kudumu ni tusaidie watu na mabawa yale ambayo Samuel amesema. Mabawa ya maji, watu wapande mahindi, waweze kupanda mboga, wakina mama wauze ili waweze kujiendeleza kimapato.
Elsewhere, the Kenya Red Cross has initiated a food distribution drive in Turkana. Speaking at the outskirts of Lodwar town, Deputy Secretary General Anet Msabeni said the relief aid will also address issues such as malnutrition among the elderly and children.
There is lack of water, there is lack of food, there is lack of pasture, and also we are seeing children exhibiting signs of malnutrition. We are seeing animals degrading. In fact, the situation really is bad.
Yusuf Hilo, Lunchtime News.
Meanwhile, 1 person has died while 23 others have been rescued after a gold mine they were working in collapsed at Osiri Matanda in Migori County. Area Chief David Ola says rescuers managed to reach 23 miners but failed to get their 24th colleague, who was allegedly buried deep inside the precariously hanging mound of earth.
3 miners in Migori County have been rescued after the site they were working in caved in, burying their colleague.
Kitendo hiki kilitendeka mwendo wa saa
saa 5:30 hivi, na habari tuliweza kupata saa 7 hivi ya kwamba mwenzetu tumeweza kupoteza kule chini.
The 23 escaped with various injuries, highlighting the dangers involved in the search for the precious stone. The chairman of the Miners Association, Kefas Juka, said the site had 24 miners and one had not yet been rescued and they fear he may be dead.
Kufikia sasa hivi tumeweza kupoteza mmoja wetu ambaye hatujajua kama amekufa ama bado yuko hai.
There were some people who were right inside the shaft doing their normal duties, and one got stuck right inside the pit. So up to now, we have placed people down there doing the rescue.
Mikhail Location Chief David Oula has urged miners to observe safety precautions to avoid such tragedies. Jacqueline Masharia for Lunchtime News.
1,000 residents of Mtepeni Ward in Kilifi County have petitioned the county assembly to save them from eviction from a settlement scheme in Kikambala area. Through their ward representative Victor Mwaganda, the residents are asking for thorough investigations into the circumstances under which land meant for squatters was allocated to a private developer in 1991.
According to John Changawa, the residents have lived in the disputed piece of land for decades and are urging the government to intervene and save them from eviction or offer them an alternative land.
Tuko nayo ni kwamba pale ni settlement scheme, na kama settlement scheme ni wakina nani ambao wanastahili kuwa settled? Nafikiri ni squatters, wale ambao hawana vibali kama sisi.
Jacqueline Ngala said the residents have resorted to petitioning the county assembly since they are unable to raise monies to continue battling for the same in court.
Tafanya kusikia tu kesi shamuliwa, mmeshindwa na kesi. Basi tumeenda na haja hizo ambazo tuendelea nazo za kuwa tuenda kesi tukishindwa mpaka tumefika watoto wetu hawajasoma. Manake pesa kwa pesa tunapeleka kotini. Mahali hii tumefika sahihi. Hatuna pesa na sisi hatuna shamba.
The Mtepeni member of county assembly said he had faith that the county assembly will come up with a solution in favor of the families. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I'm Omboy Otiende.
Now, residents of Gatundu South in Kiambu County will have to wait a little longer for the implementation of national government water projects as the National Lands Commission is yet to acquire land for the same. Water Cabinet Secretary Kisii County says among the projects that continue to experience delays is the close to 2 billion shilling Gatundu water supply and sewerage project.
Water Cabinet Secretary Kisii County says the National Lands Commission is yet to acquire all the required land for the various projects.
Delays in land acquisition. We have the requisite resources and the resources are with NLC, and therefore it is my work from here to cause them to fast track acquisition of the land that we require so that this project can be able to move and can be completed on the target dates, which is 2022 at the middle.
The projects are expected to increase access to water supply and improve sanitation through construction of wastewater disposal system in various villages of the expansive constituency.
We have suffered a bit of damage in terms of the water pipes being affected, and therefore for me again to require my colleagues who are responsible and are supervising the implementation of that, again very vital road, that we need to have a business process which minimizes on the damage, and so that you can be able to move both projects, the water component as well as the road project, in a more coherent manner.
Meanwhile, the county government of Tana River has commenced the drilling of boreholes as part of its drought response initiative.
Uta supplement yale maji ambayo yanapatikana upande ule wa pili. Haya pia yatajaziliza upande ule, yatasaidia watu wali hili eneo lote la Ngao location na nje.
Kipande hiki kina mashule mengi na hospitali nyingi, lakini kwa kweli tukikosa maji itakuwa watu wa huku hatuna kazi wala faida. Ikizidi tukipata huu mradi ni wa maji ya kunywa na matumizi, lakini hiki kiangazi kwa miaka kadhaa upande ule mnaona ni mashamba hatuna maji, hatuwezi kulima, maana haya maji huwezi kuyapump uyapeleke kwa mashamba.
The county targets to drill 5 boreholes in Gao, Garuri, Waldena and Lakoli locations to end trekking for long distances in search of water by area residents.
Moving on, Embryo University Vice-Chancellor Professor Daniel Mugendi is appealing to the government to increase funding to the institutions of higher learning whose operational services are threatened due to lack of finances. Now, Professor Mugendi says most public universities are no longer in a position to effectively meet their financial obligations.
Embryo University celebrated its 5th anniversary after receiving a charter amid calls on the government to help tertiary institutions to get out of their financial crisis. Professor Daniel Mugendi says the recently implemented policies have led to a significant drop in revenue collection.
Right now the universities are going through a lot of financial difficulties, and all we're asking the government is to increase the funding to the universities because we are not funded properly. We have gone what you call DUC, differentiated unit cost, which the government is supposed to fund at 80%, but when you see what the government is funding currently, like this year we are told they are only funding about 30% or that 1%.
The VC say the situation has been exacerbated by the collapse of the lucrative parallel degree programs they used to supplement government funding.
Where we would draw our money from what we call the self-sponsor and the programs, or the parallel programs, or the Monty 2 programs, those ceased about 4 years ago. And actually the last batch of the students have just graduated 2 weeks ago. So we have a challenge there in that the expenses for the university are increasing year in, year out, but then you find the budgets are declining.
He said the university has invested in projects such as detergents and manufacturing of sanitizers, as well as production of yogurt from their dairy farm to remain financially stable.
A section of traders at Kirigiti Market in Kiambu County this morning protested against the alleged grabbing of public land earmarked for the construction of a market by a private developer. This comes after they received a notice from the Kenya National Highway Authority to vacate the land in question by October 30th.
The furious traders stormed the office of Kiambu governor to seek to stop construction works on a piece of land set aside for construction of a modern Kirigiti market, and for which they had secured a court order to stop any developments on it.
Sisi tunatandaza chakula zetu ama biashara zetu tunaziweka kwa barabara. Kani imefika mahali wanataka kuchukua barabara yao ndio waijenge. Na tumepewa notice mpaka October 30th. So tulipewa 30 days tuondoke. Sasa hii tumeona hatuwezi nyamaza tena sababu ruling high court walisema shamba ni ya public utility Kirigiti Market. Plot number 682 hapa Kirigiti. So tunaomba hii soko wafanyi biashara wa Kirigiti warudishiwe.
The traders accused the private developers of grabbing the space that was set aside for Kirigiti Market adjacent to Kirigiti Stadium.
Nyumba zinajengwa tukiona wamama wanafukuzwa Kirigiti roundabout, hawa hakuna mahali wanaenda. Kama hatujengi hapa, Keni hakuna barabara itajenga pale.
Former Enforcement Officer Felix Kagiri accused the county government of ignoring the court orders as well as the plight of the traders who are operating in the open besides roads.
Na kulikuwa kumeandikwa County Government of Kiambu. Sasa tulikuwa sisi tunagoja juu tulisikia kesi iko kwa court. Sasa tulikuwa tunagojea hiyo nini itolewe ndio tuingie.
2 men have died after drowning in a septic tank they were repairing in Kitengela, Kajiado County. One of the men slipped and fell in the tank, and in an attempt by his colleague to rescue him ended tragically. A third colleague, however, escaped death by a whisker. Eyewitnesses say 3 men were inspecting the drainage system of an apartment in Kitengela, during which they opened the 3 septic tanks within the apartment's compound to repair a leakage from the tanks when tragedy struck at 4 p.m. Wednesday.
Ni majonzi ambapo yako mahali hapa kwa sababu ni watu ambao walikuwa wamejitokeza kwa ajili ya kutafutia familia yao, na kibahati mbaya wameanguka, wako ndani.
The screams from the septic tank attracted tenants and neighbors. Police officers and county government officials had a rough time containing members of the public who gathered around the septic tank to witness the ordeal. Locals, however, urged landlords to ensure they hire skilled personnel to handle repair works.
Fadhali drainage ifanyiwe mara 3 kwa siku 3, alafu ikae siku kadhaa kabla mtu aingie ndani.
Sewage ilikuwa imejaa. Wangefanya watoe uchafu ndio repair ifanyike. Repair wesi fanyike imejaa na sewage na wanaingiza binadamu hapo ndani.
Kajiado Emergency Department, in partnership with the Kenya Red Cross, managed to retrieve the bodies. The bodies of the 2 have since been moved to Kitengela Sub-County Hospital mortuary. Now on matters health, cases of cataract are on the rise in Baringo County due to inadequate eye care services and lack of awareness of the risk that the disease can cause blindness. Locals are being sensitized to seek early treatment and discard the notion that cataract is a disease for the aged in the community.
In Kenya, close to 650,000 people are blind or visually impaired, with cataract being the leading cause, accounting for 60% of the cases. A cataract is a dense cloudy area that forms in the lens of the eye that begins when proteins in the eye form clamps that prevent the lens from sending clear images to the retina. In Baringo County, a medical outreach was conducted to create awareness among the locals on the chances of cataract patients having their sight restored. According to Dr. Charles Maswai, from various visits and outreach in the county, Tiati constituency had the highest cases of blindness as a result of cataract.
Surgery is done to a person who has cataract. They are able to see because we remove the opacified lens and we implant an artificial lens.
Bishop Paul Raimoy called upon health officers to embark on sensitize the population to come out for the restoration of sight.
Mimi kama mchungaji ya eneo hili imekuwa shida hata kwa watu kusoma Biblia. Naona watu kwa kanisani hata hawezi kusoma. Kwa hivyo ni ombi langu ni ya kwamba ni tatizo kubwa ambao sharti serikali waangalie kwa makini ili watu waweze kupata msaada.
Now, in other news, retired civil servants will soon enjoy medical cover courtesy of the government. Public Service Cabinet Secretary Margaret Kobier says the public service will soon digitize its systems, a move that will transform access to services, and as envisaged, changes are embraced. Now, she was speaking during the signing of the ministry's performance contracts for the year 2021-2022. In attendance, among others, were State Department for Public Service Principal Secretary Mary Kimonye.
We know that citizens join the service with a lot of dignity. When they leave, most of them can't even live past 5 years because they cannot access medical care. So we have a post-retirement medical scheme for public servants we are working on.
To what extent is public service affected by such changes, and how do we need to skill ourselves so that we can be able to position ourselves to solve problems that the world is facing? Now we are talking about digital technology. How can we put all public services in a digital form?
Still on matters health, Still on matters health, health workers in Embryo County maintain they will go on a strike next Monday, as earlier announced, saying their grievances are yet to be addressed. Now speaking from Embryo Teaching and Referral Hospital, Kenya National Union of Nurses National Chairman Joseph Ngwasi said the prevailing working environment has thrown them into financial turmoil.
unapata wanakata pesa ya Kenya Revenue Authority, hawapei Kenya Revenue Authority, wanakata pesa ya loan ya bank, hawapei bank, wanakata pesa ya higher education loan help, hawapeleki kule, hawatumi kule university ilifaa kuenda, wanakata pesa ya insurance premiums, hawapeleki.
We are so much frustrated when we see our MCAs lying to people outside here that they have given money to Embryo 5, the staffs are stealing. I mean, you don't steal from the poor. This hospital has nothing.
We have an hospital here, empty hospital that does not have any commodity. Empty hospital that we are just prescribing to the patients and going to buy to buy things. We health workers, we have said that enough is enough. We are going to down the tools.
Well, on that note, we'll take a short break. Don't go too far. We'll be back with more news.
Discover that your son was having some behavior that was not okay?
He started having problems at school. He was in high school, I think Form 1, Form 2. Then he would have discipline cases, and more often than not, he would be sent home. Unfortunately, for some time, I thought it was just a pure case of indiscipline.
Are we as a country, as far as addressing mental illness is concerned?
As a country, the burden on mental health is so bad right now, because a report by WHO states that 1 in every 4 persons is suffering from one of the illnesses, and especially depression.
I don't quite remember anybody coming to me and telling me that you need to seek professional help. At the time, we were just at the mercy of the world, I would say.
Hey, he's not my friend. He's an acquaintance. Such a thug. And trust me, one day you pay for it.
Please, undo exactly what I tell you to.
Okay, Tanya, I will not sign anything unless I know what's happened. See, the only thing that I agreed to in this stupid plan of yours was to get my mother's health back.
You don't have to advertise it to the whole world.
Welcome back. Now let's talk business. Kenya and Barbados have signed 3 key bilateral agreements that include cooperation in aviation and trade. President Uhuru Kenyatta expressed optimism that the agreements will see increased economic ties with the Caribbean nation.
President Uhuru Kenyatta and Prime Minister Myanmar Motley have today witnessed the signing of an air services agreement, an MOU on the development of the National Botanical Gardens of Barbados, and another on the establishment of a joint committee on trade and investment in Bridgetown, Barbados. President Uhuru Kenyatta pointed out that Kenya and Barbados have been championing increased ties between Africa and the Caribbean Community Common Market, CARICOM.
Together, we also started and spearheaded the need
to have the very first ever Africa CARICOM Summit. And this was something that we discussed when my sister visited Nairobi and was supposed to be held on the sidelines of Chogam last year.
They therefore represents for us that confidence that our journey is the right journey and that we are seeking to reverse effectively centuries of separation, and that we attest today that not even COVID can keep us apart with that commitment.
The two nations are focused on deepening people-to-people interactions to facilitate intra-trade between the two countries. Kenya and Barbados are banking on the private sector to spearhead economic ties. Direct flights between the two nations and improved sea links have been touted to boost bilateral ties.
Too many Caribbean people or African people who, in wanting to visit each other's countries, are told, you have no visa. If we do not seize the moment as we are trying to do now, then we will forever be victims of a time and a power over which we have no control. The time being history and the power being others who have other interests.
Caroline Jinga for Lunchtime News.
Google plans to invest $1 billion in Africa over the next 5 years to ensure access to fast and cheaper internet, and will back startups to support the continent's digital transformation. Alphabet Inc. will invest $50 million in startups, providing them with access to its employees, network and technologies. Here are the details of these and other stories from across the continent.
In collaboration with not-for-profit organizations Kiva, Google will also provide $10 million in low-interest loans to help small businesses and entrepreneurs in Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa so they can get through economic hardship created by the COVID-19. Small businesses in Africa often struggle to get capital because they lack the necessary collateral required by banks in case they default. Google, together with mobile operators such as MTN, Orange, and Vodacom, also aims on expanding a program pioneered in 2020 in Kenya in partnership with Safaricom that allows customers to pay for 4G-enabled phones in installments. Meanwhile, major banks in South Africa are contemplating incorporating Stockwell into country's mainstream banking system. Stockwell offers members a 3-month loan at a rate of 10% per month and has improved financial situations for many. Based on estimates from South Africa National Stockwell Association, thousands of Stockwell members make up the informal market of more than $3 billion annually. The country's Big Four bank potentially account for 12 billion rand of the currently 50 billion rand Stockwell market. Standard Bank is developing a new account with loads of Stockwell-friendly features to win more of them, and it will be released by the end of 2021. Finally, Clasher, a Lagos and San Francisco-based startup, is seeking to fill a niche in a cross-border commerce to facilitate transactions in the digital space. The firm has raised $2.4 million in seed to scale. The company's new business model centers around helping Africans make payments and get goods they want regardless of their location. With Clasherwire, consumers can pay with African currencies, Naira, Cedis, shillings, via multiple payment methods, which Clasher then remits to merchants in dominant currencies like the US dollar or euros in 2 business days. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I am Teresa Mtai.
Google's search engine rivals are urging European Union lawmakers to take action against the Alphabet unit via new tech rules. The tech rivals say they have yet to see positive results from an antitrust ruling against Google. Here are the details of these and other stories making headlines across the globe.
The European Commission in 2018 levied a record €4.24 billion fine on Google for unfairly using Android to cement the dominance of its search engine and ordered it to ensure a level playing field for the rivals. Google subsequently made changes and 4 months ago said it will let rivals compete for free to be default search engines on Android devices in Europe. US search engine DuckDuckGo, Germans Ecosia and French peers Quant and Lilo said lawmakers should use tech rules drafted by EU antitrust chief to ensure competition. Meanwhile, Reliance Industries Limited Retail said it will roll out 7-Eleven Incorporated convenience stores in India, days after the Future Retail Limited ended a similar deal with a US chain. Reliance Retail Ventures Limited will open the first 7-Eleven round-the-clock convenience store in a neighborhood in India's financial capital of Mumbai on October 9th. The deal marks the latest by the Reliance Group led by billionaire Mukesh Ambani to rapidly expand its retail and e-commerce businesses to better compete with Amazon and Walmart. Finally, Nestle, the makers of Aero and KitKat, is the world's largest producer of dairy products and works with hundreds of thousands of farmers around the world. The maker of Quality Street and Lion bars has said it is experiencing some supply chain problems ahead of the Christmas period. Nestle determined to have its products available in stores by winter. A number of sectors have had problems with their supply chains due to the labor shortages and transportation issues. Factors including global bottlenecks with shipping have also played a part.
And from that, we cross over to the National Industrial Training Authority in Athi River, where a project aimed at benefiting 120 vulnerable women between the ages of 18 to 35 from across the country has been launched. Now dubbed Hyundai Dream Center, the project is spearheaded by Plan International in partnership with Hyundai Motor Company, which aims at finding solutions of developing capacity of young women and men with demand-driven technical and employability skills to pursue decent jobs in the automotive industry. Now, Labour Cabinet Secretary Simon Chelugui is currently speaking. Let's listen in.
2 million graduates every year, and only 800,000 are absorbed in our labour market. It is therefore very important to make sure that as many as possible of these graduates leaving the various training and education institutions with employables are living with employable skills. This way, they will easily find opportunities in our labor market, whether locally and foreign markets. The automobile industry contributes significantly to the global economy and is one of the main drivers of macroeconomic growth and stability in the world. In any case, the drivers of the world economy is driven by a few sectors, starting with ICT, financial, and transport sector plays a very important role. It actually contributes on average 20% of the world economy. And therefore, what we are learning today is fitting into that space and making our contribution in moving this world to the next level. According to the report by International Labour Organization, ILO, by the year 2017, globally, automotive industry contributed over 14 million direct employments. This sector also supports many other sectors in the economy, hence creating a multiplier effect across our economies. It is also on this backdrop that our Big Four economic blueprints has identified automobile industry as one of the Kenya manufacturer sectors that will be key in the achievement of the country's industrialization and economic transformation. I'm happy that we are partnering today with South Korea, a country that we were on the same level at our independence. And I believe this initiative is a catch-up initiative that will see us also transform this part of the world, our country, Kenya, to the level of the Eastern tigers of Korea, Singapore, and Malaysia. You've seen Hyundai excavators. We used to do caterpillar from other countries. Now today they are dominated by earth-moving machinery from Korea, a country that has distinguished itself. And therefore, when we want to fly high as a country, we need to fly with eagles. Let us leave the small birds below the clouds and fly with the eagles. And that is what South Korea portends for us. I believe that this partnership is a positive partnership that will see not just the transfer of skills, knowledge in automobile, but it will transgress to other sectors in healthcare, in aviation, in hospitality, so that our country can begin to appreciate how the world is moving. For this economic transformation to happen, NITA has to supply to the industry skilled workers. And it is for this reason that the center is such a significant project. And we want to sincerely thank the government of South Korea for their support to the people of Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, I was in United Kingdom last week. The government of Kenya managed to sign a bilateral labor agreement to transfer 20,000 nurses to United Kingdom to work with National Health Service, NHS of UK, with very, very high terms of employment with our nurses. And we are now imploring our health training institutions, Kenya Medical Training College and our universities, to embrace, and we can train for export. We don't have to train for Kenyan market. And after this first call, we will be pursuing other sectors, other skills like automobile, like transport, engineering, building and construction, aviation, hospitality. These are sectors that Kenya has excelled in the past, and we can explore the world. We can conquer the world with our knowledge and our skills. And I want to appreciate the work being done by National Industrial Training Authority, producing world-class skills, producing world-class graduates that can fit any market, any job sector, whether it is automobile industry like vehicles, earth-moving, and many other in any part of the world. It is my hope and wish that in future, any other Kenyan graduating from our college and lacks opportunity in Kenya, we will find opportunities across the world. We can train for export. And we as government will ensure we protect our workers, whether in Kenya or abroad, that their terms and conditions are enshrined in our bilateral labor agreements. And that is the job I want to do in United Kingdom, to ensure that no Kenyan is abused or denied his right of service. And we're not doing anybody a favor, or are they doing us a favor? We are offering a service, we are offering a skill, and they are paying for that service. So it's a mutual partnership. That is how we need to frame our relationship with the rest of the world. We have over 100,000 Kenyans in United Kingdom, and that is what we are building. I am now engaging with about 14 countries in Europe and Americas and even Middle East and Australia to export our young skilled labor. So NITA is one of those institutions that we want them to be equipped and skilled and developed to offer skills that can fly any part of the world. I'm happy about the Kenyan workforce, the attitude, the focus, the commitment, the passion to work, because that is what distinguishes us from the rest of the world. The discipline that you must carry, whether as a young person and even as an elder person. All employers desire to have qualified, skilled workers who are disciplined and committed to their job. I believe that is what we are producing in NITA at the river.
Well, those live pictures, that was Labour Cabinet Secretary Simon Chelugui, who has stated that the government is putting in place measures that will see the advancement of automobile, aviation sectors, among others, across the country. Well, that was some of the things that he mentioned. We shall bring you a detailed report in our subsequent bulletins. For now, we move on to sports news, where the national soccer team, Harambee Stars, will take on Mali tonight in a crucial 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifier in Agadir, Morocco. Engine Ferrat's men will be looking forward to register their first win to keep their world qualifying chance alive. Now the match will be beamed live on KBC Channel 1.
The Engine Ferrat's men will be looking forward to register their first win to keep their World Cup qualifying chances alive. The Eagles currently top Group E with 4 points, 2 points ahead of second-placed Kenya, who have only managed 2 draws in 2 matches. This will be only the third meeting between the two sides, and Kenya are yet to register a win against Mali.
We will do our job to the last second, and we will do our best that the people get satisfied. And because for us this is match very important to see how we can play against the top team, and if we are ready to play against the top team, and I have a good feeling that we will be ready.
The last meeting came in Group B of the 2004 African Cup of Nations, where the Eagles registered a 3-1 victory. Kenya are currently unbeaten in 6 games, with 3 draws and 3 wins recorded, while Mali have just 1 win from their last 5 matches. The match will be beamed live on KBC Channel 1. Daniel Mwendwa.
Chelsea rescued a point against Wolfsburg in the UEFA Women's Champions League group stage after falling 2 goals behind. Now Chelsea's next fixture is against Juventus on Wednesday, with the latter registering a 3-0 win over Swiss side Servette.
Chelsea made a flying start at Kings Meadow, and despite some care giving the English side the lead earlier on, defensive errors led to Tabia Wolfsmouth and Jill Roa giving Wolfsburg the lead before halftime. Wolfsmouth got her second after break, but Bethany England quickly replied moments later.
The pressure's on, and here's an opportunity of an open goal for Wolfsburg, and they've got one back completely against the run of play.
Melania Lupol's setup Panier had to secure a point for Chelsea in extra time. Natalia Padilla Bidas was denied a goal back when her header hit the post, before Valentina Canoa netted Juve's third to seal the win.
France will look to put their poor run of form behind them when they take on Belgium in the semi-finals of the UEFA Nations League tonight. Meanwhile, Italy's record 37-game unbeaten run came to an end as Spain beat them 2-1 at the San Siro to reach the Nations League final.
Spain got a measure penalty shootout defeat by eventual winners Italy at Wembley after thrashing Italy 2-1 to secure a spot in the finals of the UEFA Nations League. Manchester City's Ferran Torres kept the visitors on lead in the 17th minute after both teams had missed a lot of chances in the early minutes of the first half.
Oyarzabal with a great ball in and a wonderful goal from Ferran Torres. Well, he did finish that superbly.
Italy had to play the entire second half with 10 men after captain Leonardo Bonassi was sent off in the 42nd minute before Ferran Torres added a second in the extra minutes of the first half. Roberto Mancini's men looked dead and buried until Lorenzo Pellegrini's late goal after a wonderful Federico Chiesa's run on the counter-attack, but could not find an unmerited equalizer. This marks the first time Italy have lost a competitive game in their homeland since 1999. Meanwhile, France will look to put their poor run on form behind them when they take on Belgium in their second semi-final tonight. A place in Sunday's final against Spain is the prize at stake as both of these nations look to make amends for the falling short after UEFA Euro 2020. Many expected France to add a European title to their world crown, but their round of 16 elimination at the hands of Switzerland was one of the shocks